Want to be a Kappa?
No, I'm just saying. To the person that wanted to be a Kappa.
Oh, okay.
You want to be Kappa. You want to be Alpha. Whatever it is. Okay? We're going to haze you. And haze you. And haze you. Until you are a Kappa. That's what happened. People sold their souls to Diddy. And then they're mad now because the hazing process was a little bit rougher than they thought. You can't, the king? Why do you think I love Diddy so much? You're not gonna dethrone this man because he know how to get you there. By way of hazing you, I call it haze. And we're gonna still do this. We're gonna still do this. It's not gonna stop. Take that. It's still gonna happen. Got 3 million and we're still waking up in the morning, drinking cognac, screaming, bad boy. And it won't stop. And it can't stop. And it's not gonna stop. You thought just because you got 3 million, you changed it? Take care of what you need to take care of. You glad that you got away with 3 million. Be happy. No, don't you stop me. Be happy you got away with 3 million. I don't give a what you told the cameras. You wanted to be Illuminati. You wanted the big cars and you wanted to get pimped for it. So don't blame him for giving you what you asked for. Because he's still gonna be Diddy at the end of the day. It's called hazing. Stop playing with yourself.
I want to take a quick minute to talk to you guys about Orlando Brown, sweet soul that is struggling. And I want to talk to you guys about something because as a numerologist, I understand frequency. I understand spiritual cycles. And I like to pair the two when I want to gain a greater understanding of someone's resonance or someone's frequency because they play a role. Now, when I look at his behavior and his thought process and his worldview and his mindset, I can see where it's coming from. And I do not in any way, shape, or form see this as someone who is crazy. I see this as someone who is in a certain frequency, being influenced by a certain spiritual cycle. Let's get into it. Now, when we talk about the possibility of this being a 12 being in a 40 cycle, the total of that sequence is 7. And if it were to be a 14 frequency being in a 70 cycle, the total of that sequence is 12. See how the numbers overlap and play with each other? Because it's similar frequency. Okay. Let's go over both. When we talk about 12 in this regard, we're talking about someone who there's an instability to. These beings can also quite often be spiritual, but there is a nomadic nature. There is an instability, okay? When we talk about a 40 cycle, we are talking about there being a primary focus on the gaining, the acquiring of information, insight, perspective. However, it's also important to note that the total of this sequence is in fact 7, which is the number of darkness. When you are in a state of instability like this, while also being tapped into the spiritual realm, while also intentionally using your energy to harness additional information, especially if it's metaphysical in nature, this is tricky because it causes an instability in the frequency. It causes a confusion in the frequency. 12 is not always confused. It is always typically unstable, but it is not typically confused, right? Because this is a spiritual number as well. But that's why it's important to understand what kind of a spiritual cycle someone is in, because you can combine the numbers for greater resonance and understanding. And you understand that this is a difficult sequence. Now, talking about him from a perspective of being in 14 frequency, which is similar to a 40 cycle, right? Because you're navigating the same realm. You're navigating the realm of information relative to karmic matters. That's what metaphysics is, okay? But when you pair it with a 70 cycle, especially because this is a cycle that is given to someone who is in the grips of substance use, right? Substance abuse, I should say. This man is clearly still using methamphetamines, and I'm speaking as someone that has used them. Not just observation, not just assumption. I know what it does. I know what it does to the mind. I know what it does to the soul. I know how one speaks when someone is under the influence of it. And all the signs point there. So that is a prime example of a 70 cycle. And this is also the nature of that drug. It does heighten the frequency, right? Because it's a stimulant. It heightens the frequency. It heightens the energy. Okay. So it makes it easier for someone to jump from 13 to 14 frequency. That is the nature of that drug. But there is a confusion that comes with it. There is a definitive confusion, a suspicious mind. You're in darkness, essentially. Confusion, paranoia. It's not a clarity state. It's not clear spirituality. It's confused spirituality. Okay. So, but that is the nature of it. If he is in fact in that 14 frequency state, which is someone who is motivated by truth, is motivated by spirituality, right? That motivation can still very much be there, but when you're in a 70 cycle, it's convoluted and it's confused. And when you total this sequence, it's 12, which is, again, the number of instability. So in closing, no matter which sequence we go with, they're similar. This is an unstable man. This is a spiritual man. This is a man suffering with substance abuse issues right now. And this is a man who is projecting his own feelings about his own trauma and what he's endured onto the experience of others. And that's not to say he doesn't have valid points, but it's so clouded, it's so hazy in his own words, right? Haze in and of itself indicates a somber, sullen state blocked from light, causing lack of clarity. Essentially, a state of confusion. He said it himself. So that's what these sequences explain. If he can stop using the drug, give his mind a break, things will become clear. Because under the influence or not, 14 frequency can be incredibly confusing and overwhelming because that's the nature of 4. It's information, it's insight, it's higher frequency, right? You're driven to learn about this and learn about that. It's one of my favorite frequencies, but you need to be clear. You need to be of sober mind. You need to be able to introduce rationale into this frequency to discern. Discernment is vital. Making sure you're not projecting your own wounds. That is also vital. So being able to establish clarity in a 14 frequency state is of utmost importance. And one cannot ascend from 12 frequency while under the influence either. So just wanted to share that information with you. I wish him well. I would love to work with him. Oh, the Browns, man. Chris and Orlando, come work with me.